all that. But that is not right. We don't have player welfare. We don't have even the bare minimum in the Kenya Rugby Union, and that is not right.
But of course, Wakabi, that is a player who plays for Black Blood, just sharing his views regarding the state of Kenyan rugby. Of course, he says, look, he feels like there's not enough support. They feel like, okay, as much as you're going to be performing, because he specifically was singling out the issue of selection for the national team.
Yes, Bernard, to be fair, Kenya Rugby has gone through quite the whirlwind over the last 2 months, 3 months. There's something always happening, whether it's change in management, whether it's someone stepping aside, whether it's exposés on social media. There's been something happening every time, and I hear the young man. I feel like selection thing is something else that has been happening. This especially had to do with the Morans team that was away. But I guess
maybe as well.
Yes, I guess this got to do with just the way Kenyan rugby has been in the past few weeks, where everyone has something to say, everyone seems to see a problem, everyone seems to have a solution. Basically, there's a lot of activity around Kenyan rugby, and maybe not all of it for the good reasons.
Absolutely. Now, just to give us an idea of exactly how the state is, we're joined by the chair of the Kenyan Rugby Union, Harriet Okach. First of all, thank you so much for joining us on Sport On. You just had the sentiments there of the player. Is everything okay in Kenyan rugby as you speak? Because there seems to be a lot happening.
Okay. From where I sit, everything is okay. Yes, we had wrangles within the Kenya Rugby Union board, and that's what actually led to affiliates who are member clubs calling us to order and giving us options, which eventually led to the resignation of the former chairman. Yeah.
Of course, that's a player who plays for Black Blood. There's some other representatives who met and said, look, they called out the Kenya Rugby Union, specifically singling out the CEO, singling out other individuals from the Kenya Rugby Union Executive Board regarding certain issues that they have. Just, it's very telling. It means that there's a problem, because on social media, KRU has been trending for the past few weeks regarding a lot of issues. That's why I'm asking, is everything okay?
And like I said, from where I sit, everything is moving. We would say everything is not okay if the game is not going on, but it is, right? The women were in Madagascar, so I'm talking from the point where you're saying there's noise, right? Yes. So the women competed in Madagascar. They came back with some medals. The men, the Morans, went to Mauritius. Last year when they were in Mauritius, they were 6th. This time they came 4th, and with a team that consists mainly of young players, yeah. And I understand where maybe the coaching team was coming from, because we need a pathway. I mean, Morans is a pathway to Shuja, yeah. So it was their way of trying to develop more players to be able to compete in the national, the main national team, which is Shuja. So from where I sit and what I believe is, rugby needs to move on. Rugby needs to go on, and so long as the game is going on, then things are okay. Yes. The other things, like when it comes to the ball, that's noise. You understand? It's just noise. So if the players and the technical team and the DOR can focus and just ensure that the game is being played, that should be the most important thing, yeah, for me.
Harriet, let's start with your ascension into power.
Okay.
I say ascension into power, so to speak, because now you are the main person, first ever lady to head Kenya Rugby Union. How was that like? Like the whole, because I'm sure you walked into a meeting and then you came out of the meeting and then 1 week later you are elected president. Just tell us a bit about that whole process and the feelings of making history.
So you want me to talk about from the point of the
SGM? Like you guys are in a room, the SGM, and
the
then
SGM,
and then how we end up with Madam Harriet Okach is the.
So even way before the SGM,
yes,
we'd had a lot of sort of friction, so to speak, within the board, but we were working. And what we always told each other is we all don't have to get along. We don't have to be friends to be able to work or do what it is we've been put there to do by the affiliates. And then one day the Lionesses come first in their first leg of the HSBC Challenger Series. So we are all excited and happy, things are working. And then we wake up the next morning and there are these motions that have been sent for removal of about 3 EXCO members. Yeah. And of course, within the board, we wonder where that's coming from, because we went to bed all talking and we were all okay. And like I said, we don't have to be friends. Previously, the affiliates had sort of noticed the friction and called us to order, said we either come together for the good of the game or we ship out, whoever doesn't want to work with the others. So eventually, another motion came in after it emerged that the former chairman was sort of making decisions on his own, and he wasn't willing to listen to anybody. So you could have a board resolution, and then tomorrow he decides, no, whatever it is you people decided is not going to work, so we are going to go with this, and it's part of the constitution, which, to be fair, the constitution, the current constitution, gives the chairperson really like a lot of powers. And that's why right now, one of the things that came out after that SGM was the affiliates needed us to bring in a new constitution and adopt it it was within 60 days, so time has gone. It's been shared out and we are getting feedback, and then the Constitutional Review Committee will come together. Then we do an SGM for the discussion and for it to be adopted. So on the day for the SGM, the affiliates read out their motion, then they asked questions, and the former chairman was given an opportunity to be heard, and he spoke his mind, but eventually, which to me came as a surprise on that day, I didn't expect him to just decide, oh, I've read the mood of the room and I tender my resignation. So I was a bit taken aback because I thought he would try and fight it, maybe call some affiliates and, you know, talk. Yeah, so he resigned. And then because he resigned, the onus then goes back to the board to determine who becomes the next chairperson. And we were given 14 days. But remember, there'd been so much noise. And then there's still the game that's going on. So we felt it was necessary for us to close that chapter as fast as we could, but with consultation with the affiliates again. So during one of the board meetings, people proposed names, and one of the names was mine. I was actually a bit surprised. However, whoever proposed my name, you know, when he spoke and he said why he was proposing me, then I was like, oh my goodness, yes, I actually tend to do a lot of that. So I tend to call them to order, I tend to try and unite everybody, and I tend to try and make us go back, our focus to shift back to what brought us to the board in the first place. So then we were put to task. Okay, we decided to share those names with the affiliates and get their feedback. They were happy with the names, and they said, go ahead and you people decide. We are giving you that opportunity because when this board came into power, they are the ones who voted us in, right? And we are the ones who've been fighting amongst ourselves. So it's up to you guys to decide. When we went for the meeting now to decide on who amongst the 3 was going to be the next chair, the current vice chair just said, I hear where you guys are coming from, and for the sake of unity, working together, everything that the union or the federation or the game stands for, I'll step down and support Harriet. And that was actually before the meeting. Then during the meeting, the other director also just said, first of all, I'm the one who proposed her. So it only makes sense for me to stick to what I believed to be the right thing at that time. And I'll support Harriet for this. So that's how I got to be the chair of Kenyan Rugby Union and the first woman. It was shocking. Then I think I went numb. Then I think I slept, and when I woke up, I thought I was dreaming because I had so many missed calls, and I'm like, okay, what happened? And then being Lua, I thought maybe somebody died, and I've missed the call. So then when I picked the next call, and the person was like, hey, chair, and I was like, oh my God, yes, I'm the chair of Kenyan Rugby now. Okay. Now I need to start doing all these things. Yeah, so I'm humbled though. I was really, really humbled, because when you're like 9 leaders, you know, from different clubs in the board, and all these people sort of rally behind you, that is really, really, and they are men. Of course, with one lady, but there were men, and they all rallied, like they all agreed. I was really, really, really humbled.
The reason I ask that is, as soon as that happened, the first thing that comes out is, are you sure she's her own person? Is she a pawn? Is she a face when other big people do things behind her? So those things, those are some of the sentiments that came out. Yeah. And we thought, when we were discussing this with Bernard, we said, we've got to get that out early enough. Yeah. So allow me to ask you this, Madam Chair. Yes. Are you a pawn? No. Are you a face? Are people pulling strings behind you? Are you your own person?
Because the ones that we also have been using, are you a puppet?
Yeah, that's actually,
Anybody who knows Harriet or Catch knows I can never be anyone's puppet. I'm somebody who's, first of all, very opinionated. So there's no way you're going to control, even if you think you're puppeting me. You're not even sure when you're going into that room that I'm going to still be your puppet. Because I believe in speaking my mind and my truth, what I believe in. And secondly, I'm not, what was the other question? Are there some...
Yeah, are you like a pawn? Are you a face for other people who are doing things? And without...
I'm not a figurehead, so I cannot be a face.
Yes.
Yes, I cannot be a face. And remember, I also contested to be a director in 2023, where I was elected. You understand? So if there was ever anybody who would have been maybe a puppet or whoever, would have been the people who came in and opposed, because they didn't have competition.
Right.
I got elected, and I've come to realize I was the director with the highest number of votes. Yeah. Yeah. Meaning there must have been something I did right, even from the club that proposed me to be a director at Kenya Rugby Union. And you guys are in sports. You know, sports politics is not easy. And it's not very easy for somebody to just be given you can't be given such a position. You need to be able to show people what you've been able to do for the game or for the sport. So, no. First of all, there's no one behind me. I'm no one's puppet. I can never be anyone's puppet. I'm here solely because those who put me here first, they know I love this game. 2, I want to make a difference in the lives of the players that pass through our hands, whether it's a national team or even through the clubs. You understand? If you're able to change 1 or 2 lives, then you'll have done something and left a good legacy. So there's no way to be able to do that. You're going to use somebody else's mind. You have to have a mind of your own. Yeah, and you have to have your own beliefs and your own ethos and the things that you stand by. Yes.
Chair, obviously you've taken this new responsibility, and you've said you're your own person, you are not a figurehead. But obviously your predecessor, of course, had a lot of challenges within that same boat that you were part of as well. How do you ensure that you don't have season 2? How are you ensuring that you're working as a unit? It's the Kenya Rugby Union, not the Kenya Rugby Disunion. Yes. Because that was the case in the past few months.
Yeah. Why was it the case? It's because the former chairman decided to sideline everyone else and try and work as if he's alone. Yeah? And there's nothing wrong with being alone, but leadership requires that sometimes when you see you're making the wrong move, it's okay for you to retrace your steps and re-strategize. He was rarely able to do that. You understand? And then the fact that you're picking fights with everybody. When you're somebody who thinks things through, I'm not going to start fighting you, then pick a fight with him. And I'm not even finished my fight with you. You know, by the time we are finishing, I lose to you, then what makes me think I'm gonna win against him? You know, and so for us it was just.
But those fights were issues of integrity.
A lot of them were integrity, governance, because even when we came into the board, first of all, we wanted to work as a unit, and that's why we decided to adopt his manifesto to be part of our strategic plan. That already says a lot. I mean, all of us put our plans aside to sort of move his or use his, and that should have told him something, that we're willing to put, you know, all our differences aside, clubs, what, and work together for the good of the game. He was, I think he forgot really fast about that because then, or should I say power got to his head. He realized the power that the Constitution gives him, sometimes he doesn't really need the rest of us. Yeah, so he would make decisions. We would decide, we'd have a board resolution. Let's say something like, as a board, let's stop interfering on what the technical teams do. But then he'll go around and speak directly to a coach. When that coach is supposed to go through the DOR to the CEO, then the CEO, probably the squads committee, then us, if need be. And so it was just, you know, little things that then become.
So how you addressing it? How are you preempting, or rather,
so first of all, we have to
avoid that to happen as well.
First of all, we need to put this new constitution. We need to adopt it, because what it does is it ensures that the board becomes, we become an oversight body, and then there are sub-unions as well. So it's giving power back to the affiliates on a lot of decision matters. But then what people also don't know about Kenya Rugby Union is we have a working secretariat. We have a CEO with a strong team that do different things, from leagues and fixtures to media to teams, you understand? So now what we've agreed as a board is to allow the secretariat to work and only come in as and when needed. So for oversight role. It doesn't mean now we are hands off. We still support with sponsorship, we'll still support wherever we are needed, but let these guys work because they are paid to do the job. Yeah, so no interference. Number two is putting all our differences aside. So we don't have to all agree for something to move. Yeah, if it makes sense and we are convinced, or maybe majority is convinced, then we do whatever needs to be done. Yes, and then there is what I said before. We don't have to be friends to work together. So if I don't agree with you and your idea is good, let's work. You understand? And then most importantly is to put probably what I remember we said in the board meeting the other day was, sometimes we get there and we forget we are not the product. The board members can change, but the players are sort of there longer term. Yeah, they are the product. They are the people sponsors want to see, the fans want to see. So if everything we want to do is centered around them and their welfare, then we'll be able to sort of pull together and just focus on delivering that.
Harriet, what do you do about, like Bernard said, all those other allegations that were being waved around? Because like we said, loads of them in social media, loads of them stay safe. Like you said, the former chairman had his own explanation about what he thought was wrong. There was the whole argument. What do you have to say about all those other things? How do you guys move past them?
So there are those that I have to say that are already under investigation with government authorities. So we will wait for their determination. But our constitution and the board charter are both very clear. If you're found guilty of any wrongdoing, then you're out. Yeah.
What are some of those? What are some of those ones that are with this? Because I know there was summons from DCI, if I'm not mistaken.
So the misappropriation of funds, that's already being investigated on. Some to do with fraud have been through SDT, some have been through DCI, some have been cleared, and some are still waiting clearance. So yeah, so we are just waiting it out, and we've agreed, and we had a candid conversation with each other. If you know you've done this and this and this, just do the honorable thing and
resign.
Yeah, and resign. Don't put us through all this nonsense when you know you're guilty. You understand? And if you know you're not guilty, then what you have to do is ensure you do whatever it is you're required to do. If DCI call you, please go. You understand? Answer their questions. Just be compliant, and then we wait for the determination. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But most of those things are just hearsay.
Here's the thing. Hearsay or not, how do you get the public faith back on your side? How do you get the public to buy into, like Bernard said, it's not Kenya Rugby Disunion, it's now Kenya Rugby Union, and we are going forward?
How do you get back the faith is through, first of all, we have to show them that we are listening, or as Harriet, I'm listening to what they are saying, and after I listen, what action am I taking? And like I said, so some of these things needed people who are bigger than us, because it was already out there. Now we can say we are using internal mechanisms to handle. So it's for everybody to be cooperative. Whoever is found not aligned, you're out. And I'm very clear about that. There's no favorism there. But number two is also to just ensure, like, the playing unit is taken care of, so that they continue with what they're meant to do, which is playing. And so long as they're playing and performing, the sponsors will come in, because that's the product they want. And it's just to also put governance structures in place, because there are a lot of things that we may have them in place, or we may already have them written down, but we've not been able to sort of follow through. So, you know, like NDAs, because some of these things, they're coming out when maybe one of us is already out, but we signed NDAs. Is it really right for somebody to remove things that maybe even some board members didn't know about? Because you see, there's the board, and then there's within the board, there's the EXCO, right? So there are certain things that happen, and it ends there, or within committees. It doesn't have to come to the board. So by the time we are seeing them on Twitter and what have you, then it means there's something we are not doing right when it comes to governance. So we want to focus on that governance and to just tighten, you know, the loose ends, to make sure that we adhere to a lot of those things that we signed up for. And then the other one is just to ensure the game goes on. You understand? For me, that's the most important. Governance, player welfare, rugby development, from down grassroots all the way to the top. Yeah.
Speaking of the game itself, after you'd been, of course, selected as the chairperson of the Kenya Rugby Union, a few days later you stated there will be a format change, especially for the second-tier tournament. That is the Eric Shirley Shield to an under-20. And there's been a bit of pushback. People saying, okay, fine, why are you changing this to an under-20? And you see, it's a feeder program to the Kenya Cup. Why change it to an under-20? What's the rationale?
Yeah. Okay, so what I can say about that format was, by the time we're going to press, when we had the press conference, the DOR and the leagues and fixtures hadn't really finished consultation with the affiliates. So now it's done. It's done, and it's going to eventually end up being like an under-20 league, but it's being done in phases. You know, it's not being changed outright the way it came out during the press conference. Yeah, it's being done in phases, and the clubs have the buy-in, the ones that usually take part in ESS.
So it's because I remember it was stated that it's going to start 2025, 2026. So does it mean that Eric Shirley was being phased out? Then it's going to be, or it's going to remain and going to be purely under 20? How is it going to work?
It's not going to be phased out in 2025, 2026.
Okay.
It's going to continue, but then eventually it will turn into an under-20 league.
What's the timeline? Because you know,
probably by the next league, which would be 2026, 2027. Yeah.
So 2025, 2026 will remain as is, and then
but with some under-20, you know, players and all that.
What's the motivation behind you changing it?
It's because our national team, the under-20, so Chipu and probably just even the under-18, they don't get a lot of play time. I mean, they only come in when it's almost time for them to go for the international competitions. So we need to now start building that from grassroots, so that they also have a feeder, a continuous feeder.
Or also into the national teams and into the clubs themselves. But you spoke quite a bit about player welfare and the game going on. There's some of the things that people have been asking questions. For example, Kenya Cup, we call it in football mpira makofi, clap and people go home. How soon can you start to change that and maybe, for example, just put a bit of prize money into it? When you look at your big picture on how to improve some of these things, like Kenya Cup, like the way you are doing with the Rikshali Shield, you're already taking care of the Chipu. How do you do that with Kenya Cup, for example? Sponsorship.
That's the only way they're able to even get, we're able to take care of the aspect of prize money. And I believe we had a little the season that ended in March. And we are also getting new partners for Kenya Cup and Championship. So through those many different partners, then we are going to be able to see. And I know with the DOR CEO and the leagues and fixtures, they're going to be able to work out a plan where it's not just, let me say, not just Kenya Cup, because we have Championship and we have nationwide. So we're going to see a way to spread out the funding, so that at least those top teams or the ones that perform, because I mean, prize money has to be performance based. Otherwise, we won't have enough money to take care of all the clubs all at once. So we are getting, I think so far, 2 sponsors have shown interest in Kenya Cup and Championship, and then they're nationwide because of the way it's played in regions. There are those regions that have already got some partners who are willing to come in, and the #1 priority is to motivate the teams, and that is using prize money. Prize money. Yeah.
Let's talk about sevens. Worldwide, the sevens game is going through some changes. Let's call them changes. The top tier has become smaller. The second tier has become bigger. You've had teams stopping their sevens program. What does that tell you? Because in this country, unlike most countries in the world, sevens is the thing. It's the one. Yeah. How are you seeing that as a union, and what do you do? What does it tell you, and how do we approach it?
Wow. I think that would have been a good question for the DOR, but what I know is we are still going to continue with our sevens program. And we are fortunate enough that both the men and women will be competing in that tier 2. And they have some sponsors, but we also have some sponsors who are willing to now again come in. More sponsors are coming in for the women, and then there are others who've also made interest on Shujaa. So for Kenya, and for now, we are still going to still continue to grow our sevens program, even as we focus on.
Does it worry you the way what is happening at World Sevens level, where we keep shrinking the top tier?
Of course. Of course it worries us. And I know even some of our old like rugby patrons and all wrote to World Rugby about it. But I believe, I mean, sports is not cheap, and rugby actually is not a very cheap sport. So for World Rugby to make such a decision, they must have looked at a lot of factors for them to be able to reach that decision and stick to it. Because I remember we got the news when we were in LA, and some people were even saying, oh my God, what is tier 1 going to be like without Kenya? Because the Kenyan fans are the ones who bring all the hype and make, you know, guys want to watch the games. So we're like, well, maybe you'll have to play less so that you come to tier 2 and enjoy playing with Kenya, but give us some time and we'll probably join you in that tier 1. But I feel for World Rugby, maybe it was just a matter of sponsorship as well. Just the same struggles we're having here, imagine they're also having them up there,
Finally, Chair, you have this new responsibility. You are the Director of Commercial Services. Now you've pivoted, and now you have a slightly much more higher profile in terms of leading the Kenyan Rugby. What is your mountaintop? What would you want to achieve during this tenure? You've got it midway. In a sentence.
In a sentence. Improve rugby development and player welfare. Yeah.
Just that?
So through sponsorship. Just attract, do more so that more sponsors want to come on board.
That was the chair of the Kenya Rugby Union, Harriet Okach. Of course, that's an interaction we had just before she traveled to Uganda for the Rugby Africa Cup, which doubled up as the World Cup qualifiers for 2027 in Australia. Wakabi, the KRU chair has her work cut out.
Yes, there's so much to do. If we are to qualify for the Rugby World Cup in 2031, 2031, sorry, we have to start now. So they have to make plans for that. Sevens is in a bit of a bother because we are not quite sure of this promotion, tier 1, tier 2. You have to figure that out. You have to figure out the Eric Shally Shield. You have to there is a lot to do, and the biggest of them is to change the perception of the public and of the corporate world that, you know what, all is now back to being good at Kenya Rugby. How quickly you turn that around, how quickly you turn it around so that people have faith in it, people go back to watching the game, corporates continue to support you, and then you can build it up because you cannot move on your own. You need all that. So how she's able to navigate through all those waters, navigate through all those conversations, I think it's the main thing because, and you were saying this off air, rugby just has a lot of people who all believe they know. So it's a case of figuring out which way forward, and she has to somehow find a way because as it is now, people certainly not happy, players not very happy, so she has to find a way and switch all that around.
Absolutely. Now, let's take a look at the short of the weekend where you get to appreciate the skills of our colleagues, specifically Mr. Chris Omolo and Sila Kiplagat. And the focus tonight is by Mr. Chris Omolo. Wakabi, this one was captured this past weekend in the cricket championship and to specifically the NCPA League match. That is a cricketer, his name is Bola Vraj Patel. He plays for Swami Bapa Cricket Club.
Swami Bapa used to be Steve Tikolo's club back in the days.
Yes, so he's appealing. He appealed successfully for a wicket.
I think we should investigate Chris Omolo's love for cricket.
Yes, it is.
You can see it now.
I don't know if it's his first love or second love or...
I'm not sure. Between that and horse race, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he likes those unique sporting disciplines, which is good. They require the same level of attention. So this one was captured by Mr. Chris Omolo, and it was a game for NPCA